Hello and welcome to Barbara channel. Today I continue to talk about Tube Screamer. We left it off here last time, I believe. Somewhere there anyway. Actually, talking about Tube Screamer, this is only half true. I'm continuing with my Screamer series. But this time I continue with a pedal that is not exactly a clone, but it's not far from it, I'll talk about nearly as famous pedal, Boss Super Overdrive SD-1. Alright, first, I'll talk about what is a Tube Screamer-like circuit and why am I talking about Super Overdrive here at all. Then I'll cover differences between circuits and what might make them sound different. I'll do a very brief sound comparison between my breadboard version, this one, of the Tube Screamer, and Super Overdrive, and finally I'll try to tweak my breadboarded version to try to get it to sound similar to SD-1. We'll see how it goes. I mean, this is kind of a continuing off from, this was my previous version or previous post. You can go have a look at that. It will be somewhere in the description. I'm not going to do any kind of thorough comparison. There's a few videos out there, you can have a look. I'll put a link there. There's like over 30 hours there, 30 minutes, sorry, 30 hours, jeez, 30 minutes there of this, comparison. There's some how do you do it in a band version? How do they sound? Do they sound any different? I'll put the links into the description along with links to all other details and schematics I'm going to cover here. I'm going to cover more technical side of things here as usual, with just enough playing to illustrate, the points. But okay, that's it. Let's get to it. I know Super Overdrive, like Tube Screamer, is used in by many guitar players and covers a wide variety of genres. In a band situation, they sound very similar. If you heard one of those videos I'm going to link this to, they sound surprisingly similar. But if you look at schematics, of these two, let me see that. I have that prepared. If I flip quickly between Tube Screamer and SD-1, they look pretty much the same. If we disregard the component values, let's look at this: 31K, 33K. I mean, if we look, I mean, what we need to look at, these things section by section, and I'll go through that. If you look at the clipping section, pretty much the same here. Input comes here. I'm just going to ignore buffers for now. They both use electronic switching, so I'm just gonna skip that part completely. But here, the only obvious difference is asymmetric clipping. Here, you see there's two diodes, one here. Okay, there's this small capacitor here as well, but that's a tiny detail. If you look at here, they're pretty much the same. This capacitor is more significant difference, but keep in mind that the level here is 4.5 volts or half the power voltage, so it doesn't really matter if you have that. Should not make any difference having that resistor there. So if you look at it, basically, oops, what did I do? Oops. Okay, let's do this again. Okay. If you look at it, this diode here extra, this capacitor here extra, and less this capacitor. So that looks pretty much the same. So how are they different? So I have here annotated version, and can I zoom this in? Okay. You can see the full, this diagram on my website. There's a link in the description. But if I look at this, I annotated it similarly like my previous posts, and I kind of marked them. And here I kind of put little icons here that they look pretty much the same as between the two circuits. This one is slightly different. So let me zoom in to this. Input and output buffer, yeah, they won't affect the sound, and they're pretty well, nearly identical. So let me skip into let me zoom into clipping section here. So here's the clipping section. It is nearly identical with tube screamers. We have filter cutoff frequency exactly the same, even the values for the components. We have the main difference really here is there is soft clipping used, but there is this asymmetric clipping, and that is really the biggest difference. This will make the pedal slightly louder, but more importantly, the distortion sound will be slightly different. That's, in my opinion, the main difference between the two pedals. There are differences in gain. So SD-1 has way more gain, and it's very difficult to say. Maximum gain here is 47 dB, in the tube skimmer is 41 dB, but that's really twice the level. The difference is twice in the maximum. At maximum setting, the output level is going to be twice as big in SD-1 than in tube scraper. I mean, in reality, really, half of the rotation of the, where do we have here? Half of the rotation from here to here, right? You cover the gain level from tube screamer, on SD-1. No low pass filter here. Let me just go back. See this one. This resistor and pot form low pass filter with this capacitor. There's no such thing here, no filter. But as I postulated in my, one of the previous videos, that should not matter much. There's there's sound shaping section later on, tone, etc., etc. So it's very unlikely that will make a huge difference. On the other hand, there is a filter here, 88 hertz high pass that kind of rolls off some of the low end. That might introduce some difference in sound. How much we would need to see. Again, it might not make a huge difference. Might make some noticeable difference. We'll need to see that when we try it out. Let's move to the tone section now. Well, nearly identical circuit, like they're nearly exactly the same. There's only one extra capacitor here. We can see that all cutoff frequencies are very much different. You know, like cutoff frequency here compared to 723 hertz. Here, way huge difference, 3.3, I think, kilohertz in TS808, and then we have this extra filter here. Gain level is higher for this active section. So I mean, it's very hard to conclude anything based on just, we look at values and we make a conclusion that that's always a bad idea. I mean, ideally we would play both pedals and make some conclusions based on that. But it is kind of a, as I said before, just to get some expectations set. So if I plot frequency response only of this part here, this section here, and compare these two, pedals. This is SD-1, and this is TS808, and I'm gonna do this real quick, and you would think, yeah, it's a big difference, but really it isn't. Even this hump here is 3 dB. Difference 3 dB. It's going to be a bit difficult to tell the difference, and this is at the very when you roll tone all the way to the end on both 3 dB. You will notice very little difference. Well, you will notice some difference, but you need to have a trained ear to notice more than anything. And you see the whole range of sweep pretty much covers everything. And if you look at the cutoff frequencies, they are thereabouts. Even though these frequencies are so much different from between circuits, it is looking so close. Because how the tone circuit works in reality, we are talking about we have this low pass filter. It attenuates frequencies over cutoff frequency. This section here compensates for that attenuation, but it really determines how far this compensation goes between this interplay here between these two parts of this section, and then we have this filter here that rolls off then these frequencies. You have to remember that frequency goes, there's like 20 dB attenuation per decade. Same goes for this active section, 20 dB per decade. It goes, increases. So that kind of levels off. And just because there is this kind of a slight difference where they meet, if you will, you have this little hump here, and you still have little hump, very little hump here. Okay, let me compare this real quick. I have it open here. Let me see if I can show this. I brought this in paint.net, and it doesn't really matter. The idea here is I have put one over the other. The plots. So if I change this opacity and just like, you can get a better idea of how different they are. You can notice that TS808 is slightly lower level, output slightly lower level. So let me bring this SD-1 slightly down. Go on. Okay, I need to press OK here, I'm guessing. let me just slightly down, and I'm gonna try to I lowered volume level, output level a bit, just tiny bit, and you get them, I can compare them better, I think. So let me zoom in slightly. And look at that, like, yeah, you can see some of the lines are completely overlapping, completely nearly at the same place, etc., etc. So you can even track some of these. So the whole idea I'm trying to convey here is that these are not, despite all the frequencies here, these are not having different frequency response. Now, how does this? There's more to this than obviously just frequency response. What we need to do, we can't just assume that's the case. That we see the frequency response and we say, oh yeah, it's the same thing. There's more to it. There's dynamics of playing. There's all sorts of other things that affect the pedal, compression of the distortion, etc., etc. The only way to do this is actually to play and hear it for yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this version of my tube screamer. I have another that's with original values or as close to original values, and I have my alternative version with linear pots, so it's a bit easier to compare because taper for pots is slightly different. Drive has a linear taper. On Super Overdrive, it's log audio taper. Here, level is linear. Level here is audio. So it's just going to be, if I go, say, drive, I go half. Okay, that's like my maximum on Tube Screamer. But if I go, I would have to go all the way to here, somewhere here maybe even, to get this kind of a half way through. Because again, audio taper, it really goes slowly, and then just shoot up the level. So just it's going to be easier probably for me to compare this with linear taper there. So we'll see how that sounds and see if we can confirm or disprove that they sound similar. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, something on the breadboard is not that great. Okay. And let's go all the way up. Alright, we'll see in a second if I did a good job there. Yeah, just making sure that everything is okay and in correct order. And you can see there's a bit, okay, maybe if I go, and definitely there's something going on with these, there's some interference. When I move these wires, I had to replace one of the wires earlier on because it was just going crazy with this high-pitched noise, like this oscillation. So hopefully this will be slightly bit better. So let's hear now how does it sound with asymmetric clipping, just making sure that I made sure that these dials are in correct orientation. So let's hear this. Okay, you can definitely hear some difference. Let's roll tone all the way down. Let me see all the way, turn all the way up. Ooh. There it is. I thought that Tube Screamer version was very similar sounding to SD-1, to be honest. And surprisingly, when I introduced asymmetric clipping, I thought I could hear a bit more difference. Playing chords, there was definitely more bottom end in my breadboard version anyway. Playing individual notes, I couldn't notice much difference, but that was playing at higher register, and I'll play around a bit in coming days with this version and try to see if I can get sound to sound closer. Also, something is not quite right with my breadboard. It might be falling apart, I'd say. But interference, noise, dodgy connections. Those are all joys of using a breadboard. Anyway, seems a bit crazy to mod a more expensive pedal into a cheaper one, right? Wampler has a video how to go from SD-1 to Tube Screamer, and to get circuit with nearly exact parts, part by part version, and I'll put the link in the description. And unfortunately, my pedal is in surface mount technology, so I can't really mod it conveniently. But okay, so that's it. I'll conclude covering Tube Screamer-like circuits next time with MXR's version, Zakk Wylde overdrive, and after that I feel like maybe I might be combining all I've learned to one badass Tube Screamer clone pedal, and I'm actually looking forward to it. Until next time.